Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Redington CyberArk webinar session. We hope all of you are safe at home. We have Ashraf today, our pre-sales consultant, who will be running you through the entire session. Hope you all have a wonderful session today. Ashraf, over to you.
Thank you, Bindia. Good morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself again. Okay, my name is Ashraf Mujawar. I'm a pre-sales engineer from Redington Gulf. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for joining for today's session. Of course, we're going to talk about a very specific scenarios which is happening nowadays. Being working from home, everybody is concerned about. All the organizations actually the concerns about how you can work securely, how you can work from home and how can you provide a secure remote access to all your employees and the vendors. So the topic we have also chosen specific to the current situation, and we hope that this session makes a sense, and we would be able to give you the couple of understanding about a technology. Before I start for today's session, I would like to highlight a couple of points. As you can see, the name called CyberArk, okay, and of course there is a name called Alero. Okay, so these both are actually related with each other. The people who already know about CyberArk, okay, this session would be very helpful for them because the technology which we are going to talk about, it has been introduced by CyberArk, so it supports the CyberArk platform in order to provide a secure remote user access. Okay, just to give the quick introductions, the people who are new to the session and trying to understand what is Alero is, we are talking about, or we are introducing the product called Privilege Account Management Solution, okay, which CyberArk is #1 in that. If you see the market research organizations like a Gartner or Forrester or IDCs, CyberArk is claimed to be a #1 solution in the privilege account management solutions, also known as PAM. So Alero solution is specifically been introduced by CyberArk in like 2-3 months back. And looking at the current situations, we feel that this is the best suit solution for the customers who's using CyberArk, because what is in nutshell what CyberArk does? CyberArk helps you to secure your all the endpoints. When I say the endpoints, I'm not talking about your laptops. We are talking about a critical devices, correct? So it's being a PAM solutions, we are securing the most critical part of your organizations, like your Windows servers, which is running certain critical applications, the Linux servers running with the critical applications, the applications which is running on a specific business critical applications or performances, right? Which basically have an impact on the businesses. So if you see, the CyberArk helps you to connect to those target devices and basically provides you the secure access to the target machines without entering the username and password. That is the whole point of the PAM solution, right? Now the situation right now today is the employees are not at home. Employees are not at the office, right? Even if you talk about the vendors, if you have to troubleshoot something on those specific target devices, specific applications, what is the big challenges we are facing right now, right? We are providing them a VPN access or something, and the problem is we are not sure that this access which we are providing, is it a secure access? That is the reason. Even having the PAM solution, there is always a doubt in all the organizations' mind that how can we provide a secure remote access to even my employees who's now working from home, and also the third-party vendors who are also who also wants to access certain applications to do certain troubleshooting, right? So the question which all the organizations are facing today is your organization ready for remote work? Correct. So looking at the scenario where all my critical systems can only be accessed through CyberArk PAM solution. Okay, and those solutions are basically accessed by the employees when they are in the organization. But how can I give them? How can I give the access to my current employees when they're even working from home? And still be not breaching any security. I don't have to open any specific ports. I don't have to provide any agents. It should be a quick, So how can we make sure that we provide them a secure remote access? This is what we're going to talk about today. Let's understand a couple of information which we might be facing from the cybersecurity attacks perspective. So you see, there are a lot of remote vendor breaches in the news. You can see there are since everybody's starting working from home, everybody started using VPNs. This is the time where the attackers becomes more active. You might have seen there are a lot of attacks which has been executed mainly from the unpatched VPN servers, from the third party vendors who's basically trying to compromise the devices. So there are a lot of security breaches news is coming. You might have hearing from the security perspective. Of course, this is where the questions arises. Of course, how much the trust we should be extended to even the third-party vendors. This is the very good question. Which your management would be asking about us, because you provide the access to the third-party vendors remotely, right? So let's understand what kind of third-party vendors we are basically looking at. We may be looking at from the IT services providers, right? Who basically not a part of the organization, but they still want to access your critical systems. The service companies, the supply chain vendors, the external consultants, they all from a time to time, I would say a specific time, they need to access your devices, in order to do certain tasks, which is why they are getting they are the part of the specific systems. Right. So the question is always there, and you always need to understand how can I be secure? How can I provide a secure access? How can I prevent that my systems, my internal systems? If you see from the banking perspective, who's having the more critical system into their organization? How quickly, how securely I can provide the access to the target systems from the employees or from the third-party perspective, right? Let's understand a couple of risks. When we try to connect, when the employees or maybe the third-party vendors, when they try to connect remotely to some of my enterprise resources like servers, mainframe computers, databases, network devices, websites. How do they connect? They connect mainly from the VPN perspective, right? They connect the VPN. That is what the most famous method of connecting remotely. But the problem here is, and I would say a concern or a challenge here is, we don't even know, like sometimes we do not have auditability or accountability, like the person who's accessing my resources from the remote place, is he a right person, or is there someone who's acting in the as an employee or as a third party and trying to access my resources? I do not have the visibility, because there is no such as the two-factor authentication, which is purely implemented, right, to access to those specific enterprise resources. So this is what the biggest question comes in. Okay, so this is the biggest question comes in. So what we need, right? We need to have a specific solution, a secure solutions who provide the access to those enterprise resources to my employees whenever they need, when it is required. And we need to provide this remote access more secure and understand that the person who's accessing my resources is a legitimate person, right? So what is the ideal solution, and what is the kind of access which we are basically wanted? So the first one, access through VPN, agent, shopping, corporate laptops. If you talk about network access, what exactly we provide? We provide through access through VPNs, and of course, sometimes in order to access through a VPN to a target machine, we need to install the agents, which is not an ideal scenario, right? If let's say somebody want to access your resources, your enterprise resources, it becomes a very lengthy process, and it's not even a secure process. Sometimes it's a corporate laptops who does not allow to install certain kind of agents. So giving the access becomes more difficult. They cannot install the agent. They cannot install the agent. They do not have the VPN connectivity. It becomes a very lengthy process, and then you try to figure out some middle way, by giving some different remote access and something where you try to compromise the security. So what is the ideal solution which we are talking about it? The very ideal solution is we should follow the module called zero trust access. Okay, how do we do that? We should have very best practices in order to have the zero trust access, that there shouldn't be any VPN connection, there shouldn't be any agent involved while providing the access to the employees. So that would be the ideal solution. Second thing is, when user access, using the VPN, what we do, we basically share the passwords, and this is where the challenges are. If some attacker able to do the credential harvesting, or trying to escalate the privileges, trying to do some techniques and try to figure out the password for the VPN, they can act like a legitimate person, and they can try to access the enterprise's resources by connecting over to that specific VPN. So this is also a big challenge. Yes, what network, how do you are providing from today's? What we need to have is, if you want to have the zero trust accesses, we should even not give them a specific passwords. Okay, it shouldn't have any kind of VPNs running. It shouldn't have any kind of agents running. You should not be sharing any passwords to the employees. Of course, and there are certain scenarios where user comes and asks you. That's what we discussed, right? Somebody comes and asks you, like, I want to access it, and we know this vendor is going to access need the access because there is some application problem, and this has to be given very quickly so that he can troubleshoot it. Now, this case, we call it as a just-in-time access. He need the access on a specific period of time so that he can do the troubleshooting as such. If you talk about today's solution, it is very complicated. That's what we discussed, right? So first of all, he will be calling. He will be saying, "I need access." You provide the VPN access, then you give them he will download the agents. You have to share the passwords. He will logging in. Then once he logs in, he has access to that specific application and is using it. That becomes a complicated process. So from the zero trust solution, or the ideal solution which you're talking about, he should have the just-in-time self-provisioning access. He can whenever he wanted, okay, he can just request for access, and he should be having the access immediately. Okay, that would be the ideal scenario which we are talking about it. And of course, if you talk about the deployments perspective, of course, it's a challenging processes. You should have a solution which is ready-made, where on a click it should be ready. This is something which we can achieve from the something which is a ready-made, early available, which is we call it as today as a SaaS, software as a service. So this kind of solutions should go from the software service. So tomorrow, if you want to implement immediately, there should be a ready-made solution for it. You just have to do the integration on a few clicks. You should be should have the access for it. You should not be bringing the service, installing it, and then basically configuring it. It's going to take a longer period of time, right? So if you talk about the ideal solution for today's, providing a secure access, there shouldn't be any VPNs, there shouldn't be any agent installed, they should not have any passwords, they shouldn't have a just-in-time self-provisioning access, and of course, the SaaS-based module is going to be completely fits in this kind of scenarios. What is the solution which we provide? CyberArk provides a solution called Alero, okay, which works with CyberArk only, okay. So it's completely integrated with the CyberArk PAM solution, or you can say as a PAS solution, Privileged Account Security Solution. So the solution name is called Alero, and this is completely a SaaS-based service. So it's a subscription-based service which you can opt for. Works based on the users, how many users you have, based on which you can take a subscription. It's a per user licensing is going to have it. You will have the ready-made infrastructure, and then you will have to since you're all the enterprise resources is on-premise, you need to do certain architectural implementations in order to make sure that this solution works for you. So let's see a couple of use cases, okay? The Alero use cases which we're talking about. We're talking about currently, my system, my employees and my third-party vendors, they are accessing my enterprise resources. There's a chances they are working from home. So today it's all at home we're talking about. Even at work, whenever they're going on the business trip, they want to access it. What is the best match solution which we can provide? Okay, who needs the access to the critical systems and which has been managed by CyberArk? If you know the architecture, just a second. Yeah, if you know the architecture from the CyberArk perspective, CyberArk have a specific vault server who connects to the target devices using the PSM, the Privileged Session Manager. This basically act as a connection broker where we basically log into the target machines. We logged into the target machines using the PSM server, which is basically a recording server. So basically we broke the connection in two, and then we basically logged into a target machine. So even if the employee who's is on premise, employee which is in on premise, who wants to access who wants to access certain resources, they can be on premise, and we know that when they are on premise, they can easily access the service because which is available remotely, which is available locally. What happened is with the scenario when they go home, when they go home, what would be the scenario is going to happen? First of all, this service who's on premise, they are not accessible from remotely. What you have to do, either you have to host this solution to the outside or give them a VPN access. This is what we have discussed it. Giving a VPN access, which is something which is not always a good practice, as we discussed. We don't know who's the right person who's accessing it. Even over a VPN, then you have to open a lot of different ports, from your firewall or maybe whichever VPN device which you're trying to connect. You have to open certain ports like the 3389, the RDP protocol. You have to open it, which is more unsecure. You have to make a certain changes when you provide a VPN access. What is the solution we are looking at here? With the Alero, we don't want to make any current network changes. We don't want to make any current network changes, but still we want to provide a remote access to my employees, and using a secure way. They should be accessing internal resources, not even having any kind of security compromise, and there shouldn't be any password which is getting involved in this one. This is what the whole point of introducing the Alero solution. So what we provide, what we secure is, we secure all the external vendors and the remote employees. Okay, that is basically the customer required. How do we do it? We provide a strong zero trust access with the biometric authentication. Okay, the secure biometric authentication, and just-in-time user provisioning for the external vendors, not a part of the Active Directories. When you say directory, it's Active Directory, because mainly, if you know, when you log into CyberArk, you integrate your directory service, your Active Directory service, and with those username and passwords are basically given to the employees. But for the third-party vendors, it's not always you don't create the username and password in your Active Directory, because it may be a temporary access which you are providing them. Correct? So 3 functionalities from the Alero, which provides zero trust access, biometric based authentication, and just-in-time provisioning. Okay, we will see the architecture as well, and we will also see the small demo of the product. That would be very interesting once the presentation is over. And then we will go for a question and answer sessions. Whatever the question and answer sessions you have, I'll try to explain answer to those questions. Okay, let's understand quickly the architecture. I'll be a little quick, so that if you have any specific question, you can type it so I can explain you better in a Q&As. So understand the architecture. Of course, from a CyberArk perspective, we are talking about a core pass, which is inside the organization. So you see, let me put laser pointer. Okay, so this is the firewall layer which we're talking about, and all my core pass and all my resources are running inside. What exactly I need in order to implement a Alero solution? First thing, what I need is the connector. Okay, the element which we are going to implement on premise so that it can communicate to my SaaS platform, which is hosted on the cloud. Okay, it's called CyberArk Alero. So I will have one on-premise connector called Alero connector, which basically helps the remote users to connect to my internal resources. How do we do that? So first thing, what we are going to do once we integrate Alero with my Vault and hosted, and basically now my remote users are able to log into the SaaS instance of Alero. The first thing what we need is we need to identify a user. Since you are not providing a password, how do we identify? We identify using the biometric based authentication. So they're going to use their mobile phone, okay, and they're going to download the Alero application, and then first they will register themselves by scanning their by doing the biometric authentication. So the face scanning or the fingerprint, this is something which they have to register it. Okay, once they register it, there is no passwords required. Their mobile phone becomes their identities, right? So this is my internal server, which they are talking about. As you can see, this popping down the specific screen. This is the internal server they want to access. How they are going to access it? So now the connection established from Alero to the Alero connector to the Alero SaaS module, and my remote user is basically connecting to the SaaS instance, which is running publicly, and my core pass basically connects to my target devices. And you can see the connection. This is how the connection is basically establishing. So once it is authenticated, the remote user will be able to connect to the target machine, okay, without installing any agent. So it's a completely agentless, without putting any passwords. It is just his mobile phone with the face recognition. He's going to authenticate mobile, that specific application, and then he will be scanning a specific QR code, which has been populating in front of a screen, which you can see during a demo time. Once this is done, the users will have the access to the target resources over a browser. So this is how exactly the architecture look like. As you can see, just to give the more visualized view of how exactly the architecture looks like. So this is my Vault server, okay, running as a primary Vault. This is my Alero connector, okay, which will integrate with my PVWA, Password Vault Web Access, which is the web portal for CyberArk. And I will also integrate one more module called HTML5 gateway. Okay, because you remember, we don't want to open any unnecessary ports like 3389 over a cloud, where the most attacks will happen on that specific port. So what I'm going to use, I'm going to implement one more gateway called HTML5 gateway, which will be integrated with my PSM server securely. As you can see, the certificate been published here. So it connects to the PSM server securely. So how the connectivity is going to happen? This is my user who will use his biometric authentication to authenticate to the Alero portal. Okay, so once he is on the portal, he will see the Password Vault Web Access, the PVWS web page. He will click on the web page. Okay, he's directly jump into here, and whenever he wants to connect to any of the target devices, it will be redirected from the HTML5 gateways via the PSM server connect to our target machines. Okay. So this is how the connectivity is going to happen. The people who are not familiar with CyberArk architecture, maybe this is a little bit difficult for them to relate to it. But of course, if the people who already understand the CyberArk components like PWA called Password Vault Web Access, which is a web portal for accessing a CyberArk, okay, and the PSM is being a recording server, the jump server. This is how the connectivity is going to establish. So what is the benefit of having the HTML5 gateway is when the user clicks on connect, okay, it helps the HTML5 gateway capability to, instead of opening any RDP session or SSH session or any specific web portals, you know, on a specific RDP session, it is going to open in a new browser or new tab in the new browser. Okay, we're going to see it during the demo, so you can understand how exactly it is working out. So this is how the architecture looks like for Alero. Okay, so and if you want, you can also understand how the communications are happening. So it's completely shown up. So we do you can see we enable the secure communication between the Alero to the Alero connector to the Alero SaaS portal. So you have to rest assured that your whole connection, when the user or employee connects from home to the target machine, is completely secured. Okay, so we connect over it's an SSH tunnel which we establish over TLS, and we use the 443 as the connection protocol. Okay, so that's how we connect to the target machines. And of course, the question would be like, do you share any data over to the cloud? No, we do not share any data over the cloud. So as you can see, the user doesn't want to enter any passwords or something. It is just biometric authentication which is doing it. And here he's just having the access. So it's kind of an API integration which is happening in the backend, where once you connect to the Alero, you are getting the PWA, the Password Vault Web Access, which gets connected to the target machines, right? So the PWA gets published over the Alero. So once you log into Alero, you get the access to PWA, Password Vault Web Access, the web portal for CyberArk. You have, the employee still has to authenticate himself, or it was he can use the AD integrated logins, you know, to log in inside if it is an employee. The third party still be able to log into the PWA using the credentials provided by a user, and then he's able to access to the target devices. Okay, so in order to come inside the organization and access the PWA, this is how the architecture is going to look like. Let's quickly look at how the onboarding looks like. I'm going to show you during the demo, but I'll quickly run through the slide so you understand how easy it is to onboard a device. Of course, we have the Alero application which is running. So first, once you open the Alero application, first user has to register his Face ID, you know, and of course register his mobile number in order to register the applications, identify whether you are the correct person who's using the right resources, you know, fill in all these details. You want to add, you can add some photos of yours like this, and then of course you have to set up the Alero PIN. So we are going with the two kind of authentication. One is of course face recognition, and second one would be also the Alero PIN in case you want to restore it back, right? So once this is done, you get to the screen of scanning a QR code. Okay, this is where you basically get access to the target machine. So this is where we're talking about this specific QR code which has been accessed by the browsers to the users, who helps you to log into the target machines. So the good idea is there's no agent right now, no passwords, secure biometric authentications, okay, which is a good part about it. So on the other side, we are not installing anything on the laptops. So in the laptops, no agents. On the mobile side, it's a secure biometric authentication, and the end-to-end, the complete communication is encrypted. Okay, if user want to access like in just-in-time access or something, he can provision directly from the same web portal from the Alero, which has been protected by completely to a CyberArk. So that's how the identity will looks like. for your mobile phone. Okay, so once you open the application, you just have to scan the barcode, the QR code, and then once you scan the QR code, you've been authenticated to the portal. As simple as that. So you can identify your information to find out that this is the correct person. So a couple of key features which Alero provides you is zero trust access for the remote vendors and employees. Okay, so this is what we discussed so far. Biometric authentication. Okay, so you don't have to use any passwords. It's completely secure using a two-factor. Just-in-time provisioning access. This is something which is very important when you need access for the certain critical devices, and you need to do this process faster and secure. So just-in-time access would be a very good solution for that kind of scenarios. And of course, we get to have a complete visibility. The good part about is being Alero introduced, we are not compromising any of the functionalities of the past. The past functionality remains the same. We will still be able to record an entire session. We will still be able to suspend the session in case of any suspicious activities being reported. So the functionality remains intact from the even after the Alero been introduced. So overall benefits of the Alero, there are 4. Improve overall security, of course. Even now, the employee or the third-party vendor who's working from out of your organization, still they can access the target devices securely. Deployment-wise, it's a very, very good deployment. Since this is a SaaS solution, you just need to have the connectors connected to my PVWA, and then it becomes very fast from the deployment perspective, which has been deployed over to the on-premise. It's completely integrated with CyberArk, which is also a good point, and manages the users. So whenever a user comes and he wants to access, you can easily manage to give the access to all the remote users. So we're going to see this quick demonstration of the product now, okay? And after that, we're going to go for the Q&A round of the session, okay? So let me see if I can share you the screen for Rakesh, you around? I need to share the screen. Okay. So just a minute. I hope you guys can see my screen. Okay, I am Okay, so Hari, are you able to see my screen? I just need a confirmation so that I can go ahead. Somebody can.
I am able to see. Ashraf.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so.
Yeah, Ashraf, one more thing. I have published some lot of questions.
Okay.
Yeah? So if you can explain to them or reply back to the attendees, that will be grateful. After this,
sure.
presentation is complete.
Sure, definitely. So once I'm done with the demo, I'll not take more than my 5 to 10 minutes. I would say to complete this demo. After that, I'm going to take up the questions. Don't worry.
Yeah. Thank you.
So guys, let's quickly look at a demo part of it. So Of course, since this has been SaaS solution, you have to use it. You have to use the web page. And guys, you can always request for this demo. You just if certain partners who are joining into today's session, if you are interested to show the demo to the customer, you don't have to even set up it. I am using a certain live simulator, which basically explains how the Alero looks like. It's something which is very self-explanatory, how exactly it's going to do that. So you can see this is something which you can show to the customer. OK, so of course, first thing what we're going to do from the Alero perspective is we're going to log into the tenant. So this is how the tenant looks like. First of all, employee, once he wants to have the access, it's basically currently the administrator is logging in, okay, whose name is Mike. As you can see, the Mike at CyberArk.Alero. So this is basically the Mike who's currently logged in, because he's the person who's going to manage the solution. Okay, he's the administrator for the Alero, from the customer side, who's going to provide the access, who's going to see how exactly it looks like. So first of all, we have a couple of tabs which you can see. It's self-explanatory. It's talking about the site tab is logical grouping of the organization resources such as data centers or the geographical locations. So the good part about it is if you have a multiple location, the Alero would be a very, very nice solution. You can define a specific site. Like, for example, you can see the CyberArk pass. This is for a specific site. Once you click on a specific site, you should have the complete site information. Like you have, let's say you have a site in Dubai, you have a site in Saudi, you have a site in Oman, you have a site in Kuwait. You can define with the site name, and you have a different pass solution running on that specific location. You can make a use of a single Alero portal in order to identify all the sites locations. Correct? From the activities tab, you're going to see all the activities which is happening from the user's perspective. And of course, successful authentication for the Alero page looks like this, right? He's also showing you that there is a lightweight connector which has been integrated on-premise, okay, because all the enterprise's resources are on-premise, and those can be only accessible when there is something which is getting communicated to them. So my connector communicates to my PVWA, as we see in the architecture. So this is what the one connector which talks about it. So if you have a multiple sites, maybe you will see a multiple connectors here, right? If you have a sites in different locations, that many connectors you need to implement. Okay. So I'll just say next, and this is which talks about the administrator have a provision and access to core pass. So this slides, this specific page which explains that the integration is completely done. Whatever the configurations which we have to do in order to integrate with my PaaS solution is already been done. So it's already supported out of the box. So it becomes a very quick deployment process in order to implement it. What the administrators should be doing it now is he has to define the users, right? He will have the users who's running internally. So this can be your users, which is we can say as employees, like Kevin Ross or some name which they have defining in the example. So administrator can provision the access to the Alero for the specific users. Same thing, they can go for the vendors as well, right? So this may be a third-party vendors where he wants to assign the access. Right, this is how it will looks like, and it gives you the complete visibility that who's currently having access to my internal organization from the Alero, from the outside world. Okay, and in case a user wanted to add a new user, right, it also a very, very simple process. He will just click on the invite, to the core pass. Okay, so you might have a different core pass hosted in a different location, so you can choose which location core pass you want to do it. Then it will ask you to give the information like which I'm feeling right now. Okay. So I'll just define his name. Okay. I'll just give the phone number for this specific user. And of course, you can also define certain parameters like, do you need, once he confirms, do you need a confirmation from the administrator as well? So it's a kind of what we do is a workflow, you know. So you can also define a workflow saying that when a user wants to when the user register himself, I need to give confirmation before he access any resources. You know, that is what you can do it. And you can also define the time frame of this user. Let's say there is a third-party vendor who's going to work only for a limited period of time. He's not always active, you know, the third-party vendor who's not always active. So that what you can do is you can also give him the time frame that during only this time frame this user employee is going to work. So you can click on it and then you can define certain information, right? And of course here this field will automatically comes in that which account which core pass is trying to connect. And of course you can also allow you can also make that specific vendor, you know, for example, you have a certain organization, where you have to make one person from that organization as a part of, you know, as a part of what do you call as a part of accessing the, your internal solution, and you want this specific user on that specific organization from third party should be able to invite his other internal teams, you know. So you can also enable that option as well. And of course you can also define saying you know, if this user is a part of the Active Directory, okay, you can ask him, this is your username through which you're going to log into my core pass, and you are belong to the CyberArk users group. So the people who know CyberArk, we create a specific groups in Active Directory, and based on the groups, the privileges has been assigned to that specific user. For example, users is having a very limited privileges. User group will have a limited privileges where he's only going to access the target machines. He cannot do any administrative tasks. Okay, this is what they're talking about it. Once this is all done, administrators are going to send an invite. Okay, so from the administrator perspective, his job is done. He invited an employee, right? It becomes very easy. From the third party person, John Smith, who works for a third party, from his perspective, he receives an email saying that you choose to access a CyberArk Pass application. He clicks on the verify email. Okay, he's been redirected to the specific page. Okay, where he can see a QR code which has been generated. Where what he's going to do now, as you can see in front of a screen, he will download the Alero application. You click on the Alero application. He will do all his Face ID recognition, everything from his side. He will register his mobile number. Okay, like this. He received the security token. So this is what happening from the users, the target user perspective. So he's gonna fill in this information. I think it typed it wrong. Nine three. Just a second, guys. I think I typed it wrong. Just be quick. Give me a minute. I'll just, yeah. So he received an email. Verified the email. He went down here. He's doing the Face ID recognition. He typed mobile number. He sent the code. I'll be accurate this time. 9317994. Yeah. So once this is done, everything is good. John Smith, that's the name is automatically comes in. Okay. He has to fill it. It will not come automatically. He has to give his name. If he wants to add his photo, something, he can always add it. Okay. And then he has to set up the PIN. So anything you can set up, just click on the finish, and you are now registered to the pass. You click on this. You can have this information filled in. Skip it, you finish it, and done. You're successfully registered to the Alero. You will click on the scan QR code. You click on sign in option. Click here. Go follow certain process like scanning the QR code, and now the employee the user is able to log in inside. As simple as that. He did not use any password or something. It's all completely biometric, which we are using it. No, he did not install any VPN agent. He did not use any passwords, and he got the access what he wanted. And this is only a one-time process. Once now he has a QR code with him. Now he has an application which has already been configured, and a part of it. Next time when he want to access it, he will receive admin will assign him the access. Okay. And then he will just click on the core pass and he will be now logged into the PVWA, you see, with his credentials, which we assigned there. And now he will be able to connect to the any target machine. So as soon as he click on the connect button, he will be log into the target machine and his complete session gets recorded. And you can see here, it's been opening in a new tab. There is no RDPs getting opened right now. So this is something which very interesting, right? So once this is done, you know, this is some completely running with that specific session. OK, so what is the next thing what you can do is right now just wanted to show like do you have any changes from the core pass perspective? No. So as you can see, so I think it's taking back again. You can actually go back and basically also do the recording of a session. You know, you can also see how the recordings are happening. So that's how the whole idea about Alero is. It's very simple to provision the access to the third-party users, and even today the employees who's working from home to accessing the specific critical resources. So that's it from my side for today. OK, I'm going to take certain questions, you know, which has been shared. I'm just going to the Q&A part of it. I can see there are 8 questions been posted. OK. OK, so first question which I'm going to take. OK. This customer need to have a CyberArk PAM solution? Yes. The first question which been asked, does it require a CyberArk PAM solution? Yes. So it's only work with CyberArk PAM solution. So this is the, you know, there are a lot of customers who's always been asking, you know, that does CyberArk have something to do with the remote users, you know, do you support the biometric based authentication? For those specific customers who's already on a CyberArk, who's planning to have a CyberArk, who's evaluating a CyberArk, this is the something solution which we'll be pitching them, you know. So CyberArk PAM is the must part of it. The other question, Alero connector is a purpose-built appliance. Yes, so this is a purposely built appliance. OK, this basically acquisition from CyberArk, which and the current Alero, which is CyberArk is giving you, it's only integrate with CyberArk. You cannot add the other applications as of now. OK, so this is only customized so that it can help you to connect to only the CyberArk PaaS solution. What is the maximum connection it can host? OK, it depends on the performance. There's no limitation as such, but of course you need, if you know the core PaaS architecture, the PSM supports almost like 60 to 70 concurrent sessions together. And this is what the limit which we're talking about. So from the Alero perspective, there is no limitation as such. It is the PSM server, because we all go from a PSM server. So the PSM server's concurrent sessions capability is 70 to 80. OK, so this approximate number depends on how big is the session is, you know. So if you see from that limitation perspective, we're talking about 70 to 80 concurrent sessions, which can go from a one PSM server. But if you have a load balanced PSM server, of course, we can exceed that sessions as well. OK, so if we are load balancing to a multiple PSM server, then of course we are not talking about a certain limit for the sessions. No, the question is the Alero connector installed on AD server? No, we don't install on AD server. It will be a different appliance, a small lightweight appliance, which will be you have to keep, you can install on specific virtual appliance or something, and then from there you connect to the PVWA. So no installations require an Active Directory server. Okay, the current situation is all users are work from home. How do you implement biometric with users already at home? Okay, so this is the same process which I showed to you. The users who's already at home. This is what on a demo you can provision the access to the users from the biometric perspective, and they can follow the same process, at sitting at home. Just send an email, they will receive an email, and it's a self-explanatory process, right? It's a very easy. Just have to click, download the application, follow the instructions, and they should have a token with them. So it's not a difficult process, and you can, even who's already working from home, you just have to send an email, and then basically you can provision the access to them. Okay, so question is, could you explain in a slower pace as a new CyberArk? Oh, okay. So I didn't realize I was a little faster. Okay, no problem. Who is new for CyberArk? Don't worry. We're gonna have we normally have another session for CyberArk. First of all, you understand in a simple terms, it is only integrated with CyberArk. Okay, it's only for CyberArk. So if you're new to CyberArk, first of all, you need to understand a CyberArk PaaS technology. Okay, how does it work? And then only the Alero would be really helpful, because this is integrating with CyberArk. It helps CyberArk users, to work remotely as well and connect securely. So of course, we can connect sometime in future, and I can give you the much better explanation on the CyberArk PaaS solution. The last question, which been published here is, for face recognition to work, does the phone needs to have this functionality? Yes, of course. It is a phone's functionality. You need to have the smartphone, okay, who can take the facial recognition. So we do not have our own thing. We make a use of the phone's facial recognition technology, and which has been integrated with our APKs of our phones, iOS or Android applications. I guess that's the last question for today. I guess that's the last one which you have taken. I don't see any more questions, which has been shown.
Yeah, that is the last question. Thank you, Ashraf, for your wonderful time and doing this webinar to all the audience over there. And if any more questions, we have more session coming up next week for CyberArk. Then we can ask more questions on that, and let me know, guys, if you have any more questions. We can ask Ashraf to answer on that.
Sure. Thank you so much, guys. Stay safe. As I said, it's a critical time. Everybody should be at whatever place you're in, work from there. Make yourself safe and your family as well. It's very important. And the session is mainly about upscaling or understanding what is new in a technology. So this is the whole idea about is which you can go and talk to your customers, talk to make yourself upgrade with these things. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great day, and anything required, I'm always there to help you.